Would ASEAN be forced to take sides with Xi following his historic visit to Southeast Asia in 2025? He's visiting Vietnam, Malaysia, and Cambodia. This is no ordinary rhetorical question. Trump wants fair trade, but Xi offers free trade, and both want ASEAN on their side. Traditionally, ASEAN has always taken a position of neutrality, but in today's growing trade wars, neutrality paradoxically might be the most dangerous move after all. Just a couple of days after the sweeping tariffs, the Trump administration announced a 90-day pause, but not on China. In fact, on China, the administration has ramped up the tariffs to 125%, and this comes on top of the earlier 20%. So effectively, the tariff on Chinese products to America is now 145%. China, of course, did not stand still. It vowed to retaliate. It said that it will fight until the bitter end. And true to its word, the Chinese side has hiked up tariffs to 84% on all US goods imported into China. So what this means is that trade between these two economic superpowers have effectively ground to a halt. So what we are seeing is not just the usual trade war, it is effectively the breaking up of the global economy into two rival blocs. ASEAN is now caught in this fracture, and both the US and China are demanding friendship, loyalty, partnership, and alignment. America does not want ASEAN to become a conduit for Chinese products exported into the US, and China wants exactly the opposite. So we have a situation here. Both countries need ASEAN to achieve that objective of theirs. It is going to be a challenge for ASEAN to fit into this new rivalry. This table shows the differences at a glance. The US-led trade bloc talks about fair trade, fair to the American economy, which means it's now talking about tariffs, talking about protectionism, friendshoring, ally shoring, and a new consumer base, a fairer consumer base. On the Chinese side, we are still talking about the older language of free trade, openness, transparency, and multilateral approach. So, where is ASEAN going to fit into the two? And this, I think, is a big challenge. Here's the problem. In this era of the strategic decoupling between the two, maintaining neutrality is not going to be relevant. In fact, I'd say it could be detrimental. Why? Because both sides are now actively pushing for alignment from ASEAN. Well, maybe not with threats, but certainly with other measures at their disposal, such as incentives, pressures, inducement, expectations. Mid-April, President Xi is visiting ASEAN precisely for this reason. And ASEAN, anticipating this, is pushing for a special summit with the US. Very quietly, even imperceptibly, I would say, ASEAN has been evolving on its own. In the past, if you were to observe, ASEAN's language had always been about free trade, free and open trade. Today is now talking about free and fair trade. The statement that had been put out by the ASEAN ministers just 2 days ago uses the same language. This is a remarkable departure from its past. The language that ASEAN had always used had been about free trade and open. And that had been the basis of its free trade agreements that it had pursued all along. Not just ASEAN, Malaysia too has started to use the same language. The minister now talks about free and fair trade as well. So clearly, the region and its members are not insensitive to what is going on. They are adapting and evolving, but there's still a danger out there because the word fair does not mean the same for ASEAN and for the US. Fair trade in the American view is basically a more restrictive version. It is something that's favorable to the US economy which means to say it is close, protective, protected by tariffs, and it is much more critical of the WTO, whereas fairness from the ASEAN perspective is equity, inclusiveness, protection for its own fledgling industries, and open, transparent. Here you have two diametrically opposed objectives, which are both described by the same term, fair trade. So clearly, ASEAN will have to now work very hard to define clearly what is this free and fair trade. It has to be something that satisfies the American demand for inclusiveness of its own economy, at the same time, fairness, equity on the ASEAN side. I must say this is not going to be very easy, but this is, of course, a challenge that ASEAN will have to face. Should ASEAN choose between Trump and Xi? No, maybe not explicitly, but ASEAN certainly needs a strategy. What strategy does it have to employ? ASEAN has made a good start by offering to go to the US to meet with Trump for a special ASEAN-US summit. And if that were to happen, I would say the ASEAN will also have to do the same with China. It has to go to Beijing to meet with Xi. Its strategy, well, I think it has pretty much been expressed by the economic ministers recently. I think the challenge is not so much in terms of trade per se, but in terms of the geopolitics of it. ASEAN needs to now redefine what neutrality means. It is not just the old neutrality of not taking sides, but I think it has to be something to do with actively engaging both sides with a plan and with a focus. And most importantly, I think ASEAN must play a role in shaping this global conversation about the meaning of the term neutrality in this era of this fractured global trading system. The old globalized world order is fading. It will be gone. The world is breaking up into rival blocs, and ASEAN is caught in the middle. But as I have explained, it does not have to take sides, but it must have a strategy and a plan. The plan is to stay relevant, resilient, and respected. And this is ASEAN's test. Let me recap. Here are the three things that ASEAN must do. Number one, it must define what fair trade means in its own terms. Number two, it needs to develop a strategy so that it can avoid alignment without alienation. Number three, it must set the tone for global debate on what neutrality means in this fractured era. As usual, if you liked this video, please hit the bell icon, share and subscribe the video as well, and please share your comments. This is an extremely important subject. I would love to hear your comments on it. Thank you very much.